Good morning to all, and welcome to our panel. My name is Ilias Katsagunas, and I'm a training manager at the European Security and Defense College here in Brussels, coordinating the European Doctoral School on the Common Security and Defense Policy, and also managing the e-learning cell. In parallel, under my academic capacity, I'm also leading the PM² Alliance's efforts in research and academia engagements. My primary fields of expertise are on project and risk management, both through training and consulting, but also at research level. I'm also one of the contributors to the European Commission's PM² Guide version 3. Allow me now to pass the floor to our dear panelists and invite them to introduce themselves as well. Miguel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ilias. It is a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to participate in this panel. To present myself very briefly, I started my career in the private sector, leading numerous projects related to IT systems and new technologies consulting. On the side of the public administration, I performed the duties as head of committees for the new technologies and implementing the adoption of external projects across different Spanish administrations. I joined the External Action Service in 2013 as the Chief CIS and Project Manager for the civilian CSDP missions in Africa and the Middle East. Implemented my work in the field of IT systems, satellites, and secure communications. In 2016, I joined the CPCC headquarters as IT Strategy and Planning Manager, responsible for the governance and the standardization of IT projects and the VSAT communications across all the CSDP civilian missions.
That was impressive, but I will take my revenge on you for this one later on because you used quite a few acronyms and we will have to explain them to our audiences. So I will come back to CPCC and HQ and we will provide them in a more clear format. Thank you very much, Miguel, for a very impressive profile. Henning, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Elias. I'm very happy to join the team here. Well, I'm coming from a different perspective than Miguel's. I've been on and off working in the consulting area, first in the private sector for a couple of years in Europe, and then moved on to more so-called crisis areas like Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Egypt, or more recently Mali, in functions also related to donor programs, sometimes like EU prioritization programs in Kosovo, USA prioritization programs in Egypt, liquidation as well, company liquidation in Afghanistan, in Kosovo, and so on. And nowadays I'm head of I joined the EU missions in 2014, first in Djibouti and Somalia, and then more recently I came, since I'm in Mali since 2016, and I'm the head of a project unit, and we're very interested in this development.
How many years in total have you spent in missions and in missions?
In mission itself, I've been on and off for about 6 years. I've been working in different other programs. As I said, I had 2 times the opportunity to work for EU programs related to privatization in Egypt, as well as other donor programs, USAID in particular.
Okay, interesting. You have to tell us how you endure so many years in so difficult environments. Anticipate some questions of that later on coming up, huh? Andreas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. My name is Andreas, and please allow me to just say a few words about myself. I'm a police officer, and from 2010 until very recently, I have been working in the field of police missions abroad. I have practical experience as a general duties police officer, as well as extensive experience as a trainer working with all levels of participants, such as novices, particularly in the field of international police missions, as well as senior staff who we deploy. I've also served a tour in Afghanistan myself and visited some of our mission areas abroad, such as ULEX Kosovo or the EUMM mission in Georgia. Our office trains primarily German, but also European and international police officers prior to their deployment to various missions under the CSDP umbrella.
And some of our audience right now, they wonder, when did Australia join the EU? With your perfect Australian English accent. You're misleading our audiences right now.
I was a bit fast, I think.
That was exceptional. It was exceptional, but you know, we feel like, okay, we're never gonna match you in terms of accent. You're our native speaker in the group. Thank you for that. So let me get you back now on the topic of our panel. So the discussions of our panel will focus on the use of the PM² methodology by the EU's common security and defense policy missions and operations around the world. This training is provided by the European Security and Defense College, and the audience is limited to public servants primarily from the EU member states. That can either be civilian, military, or police. Also, we have personnel currently serving at an EU mission or operation. A few words about the college, the European Security and Defense College. Well, it's an EU body founded under a council decision and embedded to the External Action Service of the European Union. It provides training and education at EU level in the field of the common security and defense policy, which is part of EU's common foreign and security policy. The college, which actually has a network structure, including currently more than 180 network members like universities, academies, think tanks, associations, and many more, has been organizing and delivering the past 2 years tailored courses on the use of the PM² methodology for missions and operations. So now that we have the big picture in place, let's go to our panelists. Miguel, I'm going to start with you. And this is where I'm taking my revenge about the CPCC acronym that you use. I want you to describe to our audience what the CPCC is and what's the link with the projects being run at the CSDP missions or the Common Security and Defense Policy missions. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, indeed, we are living in a world of acronyms, and we should explain all of them to our audience. So the CSDP, the Common Security and Defense Policy, it is a policy that enables the EU to take leading role in peacekeeping operations, conflict prevention, and in strengthening the international security. We can say that the CSDP is an integral part of the EU comprehensive approach towards crisis management. So the EU member states decided to establish a permanent civilian structures, and in this case, it is CPCC that was created to enable the EU to fully assume the responsibilities for crisis management and act as a global security actor. So the CPCC, the Civilian Planning and Conduct Capability, is the European External Action Service Directorate, serving as the operational headquarters for the civilian missions. So the CPCC is entirely in charge of the planning, deployment, conduct, and the review of the civilian missions. I can say that there are currently 11 missions with around 2,000 staff working in the field. And all these civilian experts working in the mission deliver a wide variety of projects. The most important projects are in the field of mentoring, advising, training, and to provide capacity building to our local partners. And this is done in different theaters, mainly in Africa and in the Middle East.
So everywhere where Henning has been so far. Henning, I will come back to you later on.
And me too. I had the pleasure to work with Henning in Djibouti and in Somalia.
The tropical places. Okay. So how does the CPCC complement the efforts of the missions in terms of project delivery?
Okay. To understand the efforts of CPCC as the headquarters for the civilian missions, I would like to first give you a very brief approach on how the missions are structured. We should see the missions are like independent entities, each one of the mission with its own special financial agreement that is signed between the head of the mission and the Commission, the European Commission. And therefore, each one with each mission with its own independent administration and the financial entity, of course. So the same is happening with the projects in the field. So at headquarters, at the moment, we are providing command and control to project delivery in case-by-case basis, so for each mission in concrete. And it is done in close conjunction with the Commission as the body in charge. The Commission, so, is mainly in charge of supervising the correct budget implementation in general, and budget implementation of the projects in particular. So let's say we can rest assured that the proper EU regulations, especially on procurement and finance, are governing the financial side of the projects. So this is how we manage on the financial side, the delivery of the projects. But on the other hand, there is the CPCC that we are in charge of supervising the operational part of the missions. Let's say this is under a tactical level. We can say that that the success of a mission is directly proportional to the success of the project that the missions are delivering. And these efforts of the missions are fully supported and complemented with the conduct of operation division of CPCC. The CPCC, it is divided in several divisions, and the CPCC1 is the concept of operations. The conduct of operations division is in daily contact with all of these civilian CSDP missions. It supports the head of the missions and the mission staff to deliver the projects, and ensures that the projects are achieved and the mandate are followed by all the missions.
Now, I will try to have a follow-up question on that one in order to help our audiences understand more clearly the differences in the roles of the commissions and CPCC. So in a couple of words, what is it that the commission does and what is it that CPCC does?
The Commission, let's say, is in charge of the finance side, procurement side, I mean, let's say the administrative side, and the CPCC, it is on the fulfillment of the mandate, on the operational and the tactical level of the missions. So the projects, and as I said, the success of a mission, it is, let's say, quantified by the success of the projects implemented in the mission. So,
okay, so now it's
the Commission on the financial side, and the CPCC, we are on the proper implementation of the projects.
So Henning, when I will come back to you later on, I will ask you to share your experiences in interacting towards the Commission and CPCC. So we will have both sides of the of the story.
Yeah.
So coming back to you again, Miguel, is there a specific approach that you follow in terms of project governance and communication to manage these projects?
Well, as I said before, each mission is acting as an independent body. Therefore, it is difficult to implement efficient horizontal project governance. At the moment, this is done on a case-by-case basis, as each mission has its own objectives on terms of project implementation. So at CPCC, we support the missions delivering the projects from the beginning. This is, as I said before, in the operational plan that guides the mandate of the mission, on which there are the guidelines of actions for the implementation of the projects in the field for each mission. So the operational plan is different and unique for each mission. We also use the concept of operations, that is a political high-level document governing specific actions to help the host countries, and on which specific projects are decided to help these countries on which the mission are taking action. So on the side of the communication, we also are concentrating our efforts on maintaining standards for project management. So the recent adoption of PM² methodology was an inflection point that is helping us to create procedures and best practice, helping the implementation of projects and to be completed, these projects to be completed on time and result in, let's say, in quality deliverables.
I have a tricky question, and I'm wondering whether I should ask it now or whether I should keep it for later on.
Shoot it, don't leave it like this.
Shoot it now. Okay. Results in quality deliverables. So you're using the methodology on one side and you anticipate quality deliverables on the other side. Do you have in place measurements that can help you identify how well you perform, how well your performance evolved before or after the introduction of a new approach, let's say the methodology in our case, or any other intervention? Do you have like KPIs that you use internally in your organization to measure the effectiveness of your new approaches?
Well, to answer this question, we should take in mind two approaches. The first approach is the administrative approach, that it's how to say, the one that at headquarters we should have, that it's to have standardized, common and objective documentation on the project implementation, meaning what were the needs and what we need to fulfill before the project, and after the project is finished, what we achieved, how it is going, and how we follow this implementation. And on the operational side, it's I think it's getting more in place to answer this, because I mean, in the majority of the countries that we are implementing something, it is very easy to say that we succeed, because if we put a policy, if we build up from scratch a policy academy or a policy headquarters, it is from scratch, because before there was nothing on the field. So from having nothing to have something, so this is also an excellent. So
I will go back to the first element that you mentioned, and the bell that rang in my mind was like the word traceability came to my mind. And why I'm saying that, because by using the artifacts, the PM² artifacts in particular, and documenting the processes that you follow and the deliverables that you produce, you have a way of comparing and having like a benchmark in terms of how you involved while going through your project's life cycle. So in my mind, I will keep the word traceability.
No doubt, and also once the projects are finished, you have the archive of the projects, and then you can compare, and then by comparing these projects in different missions, it's also a way to see how the outcomes are going. So.
And how did you learn about the PM² methodology? How did you get about it and join our courses?
This is why I attend the course, and I think that I can speak like this because following this PM² methodology. So.
And here's a final follow-up question for you, Miguel. How did you learn about PM², and most important of all, why did you attend the ESDC training on PM² for missions and operations? Okay,
as you said before, the ESDC is under the same umbrella and under the same CSDP umbrella as the CPCC. So hope everybody remembers what is the acronyms are, and the horizontal communication between us is working excellent. So in my case, I received an email with an invitation to a pilot course. And then I saw that the value of having such a training. So my first thought was, hey, at last is something that will give me a standard to apply horizontal project methodology strategy in the mission. So after attending the training and have to say this was my first touch with PM², as I am coming from Prince 2. I saw the immediate benefits of this methodology that gave me the opportunity to fit our very special structure of the missions in a very easy to apply standard for project management. So since that we are working to horizontally support all missions by strengthening the adoption of PM² in the project fields and also under other units of the mission that regularly are in charge of implementing the missions on projects in support of the mission administration and internal operations. So let me give you an example. The heads of IT, that also I must say it's my area of operation, the heads of IT and the CIS officers, until now, they had their hands-on on computers and IT systems, but the IT services are more and more externalized, so requiring to switch from hand-on computers to hand-on on project to deliver these CIS services. So therefore, needing more and more a good qualification as project managers for their day-to-day work. Therefore, the knowledge and the use of PM² should be a must.
Now, I guess this is a time for me to give some background information. Well, the European Security and Defense College, the college, participates in two, I could say, like focus groups. One is focused on civilian training, and another one is focused on military training. These groups analyze the lessons learned coming from the EU missions and operations, and perform actually a gap analysis to identify areas where additional training might be necessary, might be needed. The college, being one of the key training providers, steps in to cover the identified gaps. This is actually performed through the contribution of the established network of training institutions that the college has, which is actually universities, academy, think tanks, etc. And the college in particular coordinates the development of the course curriculum that's once standardized and accepted by the member states, being represented in the college's steering committee, can form the basis for training delivery. In our case, the ESDC network members that have so far contributed the delivery of this training, this course we're talking about, PM² for missions and operations, following the approved by the member states curriculum, are the, now, Andreas, I will say it once, and from this point on, I will be using the acronym. I cannot remember. I will have to cheat just to remember the entire name. So it's the State Office for Training, Further Education and Personal Matters of the North Rhine-Westphalia Police Education Center in Brühl. Correct?
Yes.
I must admit that I was cheating. And from this point on, we will be calling it LAFP. I will not ask you what the acronym stands for, because here we have 4 letters and I must have said more than 10 words before. And the Hellenic joined Supreme War College and also the PM² Alliance, all 3 members of the European Security and Defense College Network. Having said that, let me continue with our esteemed speakers and listen to the story through their actual words. I would now like to pass the floor to Henning. So Henning, you actually represent what we call the voice of the customer. When we build a software, this is like a requirement solicitation technique. You serve at the European Union training mission in Mali, and you're actually leading the project unit there. In other words, you're among the key training audience identified for the specific course. First things first, what is it exactly that an EU mission is doing in Mali? Just to make it clear for our audience.
All right. As Miguel said, there are 11 missions. The one in Mali is in particular providing assistance and advisory services to the Malian security forces, consisting of police, gendarmerie, and National Guard, in their attempt to reform their security sector, in particular with a focus on human resources. So we are dealing with these are our beneficiaries and these are our counterparts, basically.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Okay, I thought I was interrupting you. Should I pass to the next question, or should I?
As you like. I mean, basically, you have to imagine that this is a very poor area as well. I mean, and so is the status of also of these forces in terms of organization in particular. So, and then there are changes. You face changes like most recently we had a coup d'etat.
Okay.
So you need to look at that again. Start from scratch. It is a moving environment.
Okay, I was just about to have a question on you on that topic, but before going to that, I would like to ask you what kind of topics are you running there, and what kind of projects? Excuse me.
We have 3 lines of project. I mean, we have 3 lines of work, I would have to say. Projects are different elements. We do organize our work in accordance to works, supplies, and services, whereby services are really a small part of it. So the majority plays between works, i.e. rehabilitation, new constructions for the beneficiaries in favor of the beneficiaries, any kind, as well as equipment. Equipment divided into standard personnel equipment, IT equipment, furniture, vehicles, name it.
Okay, so if I would just ask you to give me a number, like how many projects do you run per year and what's the overall budget, if that information is available for disclosure?
Yeah, you can actually. For this mandate, we are ending this mandate. We had planned that we would have something like roughly, let's say, more or less 30 projects, and with a total budget of 11.2 million euros. Yes. Wow. However, consider that 60% of that is only works, and
which actually constitute the nature and the definition of a project according to the PM² methodology. So knowing that 60% of this budget goes to actual projects being delivered for the local beneficiaries, this is the field, this is the area where we want to apply the PM² methodology.
Absolutely, and it's really worth in the way they are structured and the way we consider structure some of them. Now there are different types of project within that. I mean, in terms of duration and so on, you can build on projects from mandate to mandate. You can have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so on, or you can have standalone ones.
Okay, I understand. Can you please describe a bit to our audience the mission environment within which a project manager operates and performs, in Mali in particular, where you are right now?
Well, my if you want to know about my daily life, so to say, my daily environment consists of, all right, let's say the outside world. The outside world is made of, first of all, our beneficiaries. So what they want and how they want it, and how do we follow up? When we do the implementation of the project, how often do they participate? These are things that we would like to focus on. These to have their ownership inside. So, and then there are, of course, suppliers of all kinds, local contractors or foreign contractors, and you can imagine that with this exceptional environment, COVID plays a role with especially foreign contractors.
And you had a coup d'etat pretty recently.
So sometimes things would go slow and not exactly knowing where we're going. However, there were also very good surprises in terms of how dedicated the people were to do these projects, in particular in the work section, and we managed to really get it on. So this is one part, and then we have the internal part, which is made of a population of, sorry to speak like that, but it is like that, of what we call the project initiators. So those who launch the project, because you have to understand, projects are there not to do project per se. They are in the sense of assistance to the advisors, to the strategic advisors, to realize their objectives. It's a tool. It's not an end in itself. It's a tool, and therefore they need to have special assistance. I mean, they have special interest to that. But the way it's organized is you're asking a population that comes from a very different environment. There are probably specialists in how you call it, forensic equipment, for instance, but they're not specialists in project management. So we need to accompany them through the whole process, tendering, implementation, delivery, and so on and so on. Okay,
so to get it clear, we discussed about the environment, and you provided the information concerning primary the stakeholders within the internal and the external environments. So just to rephrase, when it comes to the external stakeholders, we're talking primarily about the beneficiaries, the contractors, and other representatives from their local communities that get involved, or other NGOs, for example.
Normally, we do not, as a project unit, we do not get involved necessarily with partners of our, for instance, if you talk about NGOs, that would be partners to civil society.
Yes.
We partner with our civil society department, yes. And they tell us what project they want to do, with whom they want to do it. We say, yes, you can, yes, you cannot, or no, you cannot. NGOs is, yeah, I mean, that's the way it works, basically. This is, I mean, we don't have, we rarely have direct contact with the beneficiaries. It's not us who do the project. We have a contact through our project initiator, through the beneficiary.
Okay. So I see a lot of people being involved in the chain of communication, and you have attended the training. We had a special module on communication management. Have you used any of these elements to better manage the communications of your projects, especially when you deal with so many stakeholders and different stakeholders in terms of nature?
Yes, we have. We have taken some of the elements from the methodology as well, from the management plan, and it's quite helpful to do that for the time being. I mean, despite the fact that we have many changes, it gives us a basis.
Okay. When you're talking about management plan, you're referring to the communications management plan or another plan?
No, communication management plan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Now the time has come to pass the floor to Andreas, and then I will come back to you again, guys. Huh? Once the ECC identified the training gap and started investigating ways to tackle it, we actually stumbled upon the LAFP. To our surprise, the LAFP has already started investigating around the use of the methodology. And here comes a question to you, Andreas. Why did the LAFP decide to go for PM²?
Okay, Elias. Now, first, please allow me to assure you that out of the 10 years that I have been working with the organization, I needed the first 3 to remember the full name. But the actual incentive for project management came from a well-seasoned police officer who had returned from one of the missions, and he said, "Hey, maybe you want to look into project management. I think there are some benefits out there for us as a police and for you guys with the training unit, with the LAFP." And so we started looking into project management, and since we had very little experience to start with, it was all pretty much touch and go. But as we accumulated more knowledge and as we got better, my colleague Carl Philip pretty much stumbled across PM² in this context. We had tried out a few other procedures, but we came to the conclusion really that all the other solutions were only suitable to a limited extent. So we decided to take a closer look at PM². And the reason why we did this is that PM² follows a lean and transparent path. The processes are transparent, they're easy to understand, and but they still have the necessary degree of complexity. So in addition to the transparency and the applicability, we found that all the documents needed were provided and all the necessary instructions are available too online. You know, easy to download from all over the world. So for us, the whole thing really is a very practical package, and it can be made available to anybody anywhere and is largely free of charge. And that is why we decided to stick with PM².
By the way, I read today an article written by the Jean Monnet Chair for PM², Mr. Professor Germán Martínez Montes, and I will share it with our audiences later on, which was actually claiming and arguing on the importance of project management methodologies being open and accessible. So this actually complements what you've just said. Now, allow me to come back with another question. How did you identify what was needed? That's a tricky question.
Yeah, now what we did was, when we looked into project management, we sort of asked around and we tried to pick on the brains of our colleagues who had the experience from in the field, you know, people who are working with international projects. So from the reports we received from these people, we elaborated the problems our colleagues have to deal with in missions, even to this day. So with these findings, we decided to develop our own course, which we offered in Bruhl. So that course really was based around the essential problems that we had discovered. And after some runs and some improvements and adjustments that we had made, we were able to adapt our courses better. So fortunately, we were able to establish contact with you guys from the ESDC during that time. And really, that cooperation proved to be very, very fruitful for us, simply because we received a better impression of what international cooperation was all about and how we could contribute to actually make things work better. So for the ESDC, we have really gained a much better understanding of the scope of our participants' needs. So with the new course that was going on, we had the opportunity to conduct a pilot course with you guys from the ESDC in Brussels. And on that basis, we were able to accumulate comments from experienced participants, I should say, who were present at that stage, plus the feedback that we had received. So with that information combined, we were able to identify some important areas, or at least that we wanted to put in the focus of our efforts of improvement. So after the evaluation of the course and after the approval by the steering committee, we finally had a suitable offer for our participants to suit their needs. So yeah, as you can see, even our own work underwent the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle before we were able to offer the course online for a second time. And what we strongly believe we have at the moment is a scientifically based product that was developed in a joint effort with the ESDC and the PM² Alliance, and we are convinced it meets the needs that we had identified earlier.
Now, there's one thing that, you know, it was a jaw-dropping experience for me. The first time that I came to Bruhl and we had our first meeting, and in order to start coordinating, cooperating, and delivering this course, on how meticulous you were in terms of designing the course and delivering the course and examining the value delivered by the course. So I would like you to share with our audiences right now the approach that you follow. How is the seminar designed? I have experienced it and I was fascinated, but I would like you to share it as well with our audience here.
Okay, so the structure of the seminar is based on the PM² guide and the phases of the project lifecycle. We have decided to highlight some points and adapt some of the content though. So this includes that we give the participants a practical understanding of the applicability and of the relevance of what they have just learned, with small practical examples, with micro projects, if you want to call it that. For example, participants receive specific inputs and are then given tasks in small groups to work on. They are supported by instructors while they do that, who also provide specific feedback on the results elaborated. So they are building on the knowledge that was conveyed before. We want to achieve an understanding of the importance of planning and structuring and of coordinated action right from the beginning of the seminar. We take up the problems participants may have recognized and we work on them in the course of the 5 seminar days. From the first day on, we accompany the learning progress with realistic possibilities of application. This recognized method is called scenario-based learning, and the participants are given the opportunity to apply tools they had learned in groups early on. We will focus on the essential steps of PM² and how the individual elements of PM² relate to each other. The course is rounded off by a focus of outstanding elements of PM², supplemented by the application of the artifacts which are available online.
Now, I'm thinking about the next questions. We discussed about how you structure the course. Particularly, you covered the area of how you deliver it with micro project, participatory learning, sorry, difficult to pronounce. But everything is being put in place in order to achieve some learning outcomes. So what is it that the participants should know after the seminar in terms of learning outcomes achievements?
Okay, so we want participants to not only understand the concept behind PM². What we want to achieve is that they are able to apply the key elements, such as risk management and so on and so forth, independently. That doesn't mean that they don't need to look things up though. Nobody expects them to have mastered the subject, but they will know where the traps are and what is important. So participants need to have an understanding of what needs to be done and why and what to look for. So we aim at enabling them to do that. What we want is staff that sees and understands needs and takes appropriate action. PM² can help people to do that in a better fashion than before, adjusted to the needs of their very special work environment.
At this point, allow me to complement what you've just said. I mean, like experience that I've heard from course participants that are actually implementing the methodology afterwards. What they were sharing is like, I take the guides, I'm about to initiate a project. I go to the page where it describes the initiating phase. I take next to me the respective artifact, the project initiation plan, and all I have to read is like 3 pages in the guide, 2 pages the artifact, and I'm done. I'm going through the first step. I want to proceed to the second step. I will go and read about the business case. In the guide, I will open the business case artifact. Well, this one's a bit longer, but in any case, as you said, participants find it easy to implement the methodology because they don't get lost. It's like following a flow chart. So this is very crucial, and this is why the PM² methodology is very easy to roll out, because you get very early buy-in by the participating stakeholders. Final questions. How do you maintain connection between the training environment and the real world? I mean, like, how do you know that what you deliver is what they anticipate, what they're going to implement when they go out in the job?
Now, this is a very important point for us. We want a product that actually serves a purpose. Nothing is more useless than an overburdening theoretical and difficult system that is more of an obstacle than of help. So we keep close contact with the people who attend our seminars, and we evaluate that experience with PM² and make adjustments so that we can deliver a product tailored to the needs in the field.
Okay, thank you very much for your extremely insightful contribution. So far, we had all three perspectives. We have the perspective of the External Action Service by Miguel, and he also provided the perspective of the Commission a bit. We had the perspective of the voice of the customer, as I like to call it, from Henning, who is actually the guy in the mission environment implementing the methodology. And we also had the perspective from you, Andreas, a core member in the delivery of the trainings of the PM² methodology for missions and operations. But allow me to close this panel with a couple of short questions to each of you. So the first question that goes to all three of you goes like this. I would like you to provide me within 5 to 10 words maximum the elements of the PM² methodology that you consider as the most contributing element for the nature of the projects that you're running. So Miguel, I will start from you.
Okay, thank you. Well, in my case, these are the artifacts, no doubt. These artifacts are predefined, covers all the stages of the project, and the most important, you can adapt them to the scope of your project.
Okay, I counted more than 10 words, but all of the words that you used were like essential. So thank you very much. Henning, the floor is yours.
I would join in saying that, you know, the advantages are in terms of better governance, as well as improved monitoring.
Okay, governance and monitoring. And address?
To me, it's structure and clarity provided in a handy package.
Okay, thank you very much. And now this is the last question, huh? But for this one, it's only Miguel and Henning that is going to provide an answer. Give me each and one of you an element relating to the PM² course delivery that you found more useful and contributing to the achievement of the learning outcomes. So the first question was relating to the methodology. Now the second question relates to the delivery of the course on the use of the PM² methodology for missions and operations. Yeah.
Well, all elements proved to be very adequate, but I like it very much the networking with other like-minded participants and the workshop-based scenario of the training.
Thank you very much. And Henning, what was it for you?
It's very basic. I mean, you know, we like the communications part very much. And as well as, you know, lots of hands-on elements that you could pick up from there.
And being an outsider and having seen the reports, consolidating the feedback from all the participants, I would like to share also the fact that all participants appreciated that we didn't use any slides at all. I will share after the closing of the panel a couple of pictures with photographs of the room, how it was before and how it was after the delivery of the course, so you can actually understand why the slides were not needed. So at this point, I would like to wrap up the session. I would like to thank our panelists, and I would also like to invite all the attendees to go in the Q&A session within the Whova app and submit their questions. We will come and join you and promise to provide an answer to all of your questions. So thank you very much, and meet you all again within a couple of minutes in the Q&A session.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Goodbye. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.